Sounded Good is filled with opinions, and though these opinions may be shared with fervor and conviction, they remain in essence opinion only. What About Amiobi and Jay Ray Gun do not represent PGA Tour 2K21, 2K Sports, TGC Tours, or any other company, group, or individual mentioned or insinuated. We're just two guys with too much time on our hands. Welcome to
Sounded good.
Guys, welcome to episode 5 of Sounded Good, podcast where we talk about PGA Tour 2K21, TGC Tours, and whatever else tickles our fancy. I'm your co-host, What About Amiobi, and with me is
Jay Ray Gun, as always. Hello.
And we've had a bit of a break. Some stuff's come up, but we're happy to be back. Jay Ray, I think you were thinking you wanted to give a bit of an explanation about what went on with one of our hiatus there, right?
Yeah, so we had a planned 1 week off. I had a little bit of a golf tournament. My dad is a member down at Cedar Creek Country Club here in Texas, and he has a member guest golf tournament that they play like the first full weekend of June every year. And so I've played with him. I think it's got to be. I think this is our 8th year playing together. You know, fortunately, I have some more golfing events coming up, and actually, through the TGC tours and through your stream, there's a couple of guys that live around the Dallas area where I live that we're going to try to hook up and go golfing too. So that's one of the big things is I never really had a lot of friends that golf that I could just go golf with. So I always had to play with my dad. And while I love doing that, it usually means that I got to play down at Cedar Creek. So I don't get out to a lot of different courses a whole lot. So I'm looking forward to that. And, very quickly, go ahead.
That's rough. That's rough that you have to play at a private club with your dad. Sorry about that.
It's a private club, but trust me, it puts the country in country club. Okay. It's, I like it. They take very good care of the course, but it's not, it's not blowing anybody's hair back.
All right.
But, and then to follow that up, and try not to keep this podcast too personal on my side before we get into what people are here to talk to us about. So that was the planned weekend. And then this past weekend, I follow up one of the most fun weekends that I've had with one of the most scariest and traumatic. Basically, this past weekend, my family got together back down at my dad's house. We had missed getting together at Christmas. One of our family members had contracted COVID. They're fine now, but we decided we'll reschedule, and so we did our little Christmas gathering in June, and had all our family out there, and my parents have a pool. And without going into too much detail, my youngest daughter, who is 3, happened to be walking by the pool after she had gotten up from the table. She was eating like a piece of watermelon, and she was walking by the pool and didn't see where she was going and fell in. And it's one of those stories that you hear about all the time where a child falls in a pool and that pool is surrounded by people. Mm-hmm. I mean, there were 30 people outside, and there were probably 7 or 8 kids that had been swimming throughout the day, and we were all keeping eyes on them, and everything had been fine. And then everybody gets out of the pool to go eat, and I guess we just kind of relaxed a little bit because everyone was out of the pool. And my daughter had been wearing her little floaty vest the whole time, but she had taken it off to eat. And so it was just kind of one of those things. She either tripped and fell in or bumped into somebody near the pool. And I'm sitting there literally 15 feet from where she went in and didn't hear a thing, didn't hear a splash. And some kids beside the pool happened to look up and said, "Hey, she's not coming up." And I looked in and immediately saw a pink bathing suit there at the bottom of the pool, and dove in and got her. And fortunately, this story does have a happy ending. I'm going to caveat that before I go any further, but pulled her up and she wasn't breathing. And fortunately, my brother-in-law is a paramedic, and my cousin who was there is an ICU nurse. And so if you got to go through the worst situation you can imagine for you and your children, you really couldn't do it under better circumstances than what we had. And they went into game mode immediately. I mean, you could tell on their faces they weren't family anymore. They were professionals. And they got her and started performing CPR. And it was probably the most harrowing 4 minutes of our lives. And fortunately, she came back, and we got her back, and they care flighted her to the hospital just for overnight observation. But she's in the helicopter, and she's playing her iPad instead of watching like the cool little helicopter ride. She just wants to play her iPad, and she gets to the ER, and she is as normal as you could imagine. She was a little tired and lethargic from what she'd went through, but you might have thought she was in because she had a cold or something like
Right.
that. That's the reason she's in the hospital. You would never have known any different. And so
Whereas J Ray's blood pressure is like 250 over 200 with a
That's
like with a pulse of about 700.
that's why I'm wearing a hat today, because my hair is just white now. It's just
Yeah.
totally, and so
Yikes.
she's young enough. She probably won't even remember it as she grows up.
Good.
And I'd much rather my psyche be scarred than hers. But it's one of those things, it reminds you, one, you got to be ever vigilant. There's no such thing as too careful, when it comes to your kids. And two, you got to appreciate, every day that you get to wake up and, hear their voices again, because all it takes literally is 30 seconds. And sometimes it's literally out of your control, kind of what happens. So we are as back to normal as we can get right now. Both the girls are back at their summer school and laughing and playing and tearing it up. And so all's well that ends well, and we will, carry on from this. But didn't want to get everybody down, but that was kind of why, we had to put a little hiatus there.
Yeah, and I mean, and it affected both of us. I mean, when you told me about that, I would not have been in any kind of state. When you were saying I need a couple days, and I'm like, yeah, I do too after hearing that. So, thank God she's okay.
Yeah.
That's obviously the most important part. Everything worked out. You had people there that could help. You've lost a
Absolutely.
couple years of your life through that, but whatever.
Hey, I'll lose a couple so she gains a lot. It's all good
Yeah,
there.
I mean, and as somebody with an 8-year-old, you're gonna lose more. So,
Yeah, I know that much.
but let's hope that's the worst story you have to tell about your kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's get back
And
to some
again,
golf, man. That's
yeah,
some fun stuff.
yeah. So that's where we've been. Just one thing on my end, you'll notice that I've got a different background.
Yeah, Wayne, where are you?
I am in Tesoro Gallego by Rich NUFC.
Ooh,
That's where I am.
sounds fancy.
So, yeah. So, I got a green screen for the business I'm working with. I'm using it in my streams. But I thought it'd be fun if any of our viewers out there or listeners, either one, if you want me to use a picture of your TGC Tours PGA Tour 2K21 created course, pop me a tweet at down there. And each week I'm going to have a different course as my background for this. I just thought that'd be fun.
Sweet.
So that's my little self promo, I guess.
I mean, I got a green screen too. I guess I could hook up if it gets popular. So
I kind of needed to because I mean when you see my background without the green screen, I look like a single guy because I am a single guy, and so I thought this might look a little bit better.
yeah, no, it's all good. We're
Yeah.
trying to get that production value going.
That's right. And yeah, this looks actually from what I'm looking at looks pretty good. So
Yeah, looks clean.
so just to recap, last episode we had Q on. One of the TGC Tours reviewers and schedulers. He schedules Platinum Society, poor guy. We got a lot of good feedback from our listeners and our viewers about a lot of the information that they got, a lot of things that people didn't realize, a lot of things that you and I didn't realize, that goes into reviewing a course, that goes into scheduling tournaments. I knew that Q struggled to find courses for Platinum. I was surprised to hear that it was a lot of it was the better players wanting harder courses. That surprised me. I thought that he was looking for harder courses. Yeah, I thought it was the other way around. I thought
Mm.
Q was looking for harder courses to challenge them. But to hear them saying, no, we want harder courses, it was refreshing actually to hear that. The best in the game are wanting to play the harder courses. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff about that. I could have gone on all day with him.
Oh yeah.
He just really cool guy. Really a lot of good information. Hasn't been around anywhere near as long as I thought, given how prominent he is.
Hmm.
Great designer. Hey, we're going to talk about National Treasure later, but his National Treasure course was quite good. It was really good actually. And yeah, so just to get some of that insight, I thought was really cool. So we want to say thank you to Q again.
Absolutely.
We're open to any other guests. If there's people out there that would like to come aboard, let us know. We have some ideas too that people we might reach out to, but it's always better to have that third voice and to have people who are immersed in the area that they're talking about rather
Might
than us from the outside.
Yeah, I might get John Rahm on here to talk about his recent victory there. So
Yeah. Or
if he
we
returns my
could get
calls,
maybe Bryson to talk about what happened in the back nine.
yeah,
I mean,
I'd
he's in your neck of the
love,
woods.
I would love to talk to Bryson DeChambeau.
Well, just nip down to his house. He's in your neck of the woods, isn't he?
Yeah, I got some real questions for most of the SMU boys.
There you
So
go. Yeah, just bomb on over.
yeah, exactly. Have him on camera.
Yeah, we'll do that. So yeah, again, thank you, Q. I think that was probably our most popular episode we've done so far, and
I think
rightfully
so.
so. There's some
Yep.
awesome information in there, and really just a cool listen. Hearing Q talk about everything. So
If it's not the most
thanks,
popular
man.
in terms of views and downloads, it certainly has been the one that's garnered the most comments and
Yeah,
feedback, which is a good
yeah,
thing.
for sure.
Yeah. So kind of what we wanted to look at to kind of kick off the golf portion of this podcast is kind of reflect and take a look at the state of the game right now. We are just about 2 months removed from the first major swing change and swing mechanic change, gameplay change, and about 6 weeks removed from the second, where they first affected the red fast shots and then came back and also went on the other side of that and affected the red slows. And kind of wanted to take a look around not only TGC tours, but also personal gameplay, anecdotal evidence, things like that, and kind of see where we're at. 2 months after really the first major overhaul to this game. So like I know that you still play in your TGC Pro Tours events, and you
Yeah.
obviously play a ton of different courses. I know you're not out there trying to shoot your lowest, but how has 2 months removed now, and I think I know the answer to this question, but how has it affected your personal gameplay?
Well, for me personally, I enjoy it more now, because it feels more realistic.
Hmm.
I like the idea that it's a drivable par four. I got to carry it 280 to clear the water. And I have to sit there and think, I have to get good tempo in this. Otherwise, it's not going to make it. So it would be the same as if I was in real life and I guess I would need to be 250 if I can carry it 260 maybe in real life. I wouldn't be carrying it 280 unless there was some serious stuff going on. But it makes me ask myself, how confident am I in getting that good strike?
Hmm.
And what's the penalty if I don't get the good strike? And so I find myself laying up a little bit more often
Hmm.
when I'm playing competitively. When I'm playing courses, we have a channel rule, no laying up. So I go swim a lot when I do that. But it makes me have to concentrate more on every shot as well. With the red fast meta, I guess we'll call it, I found that tee shots got pretty straightforward and mundane.
Hmm.
Aim right, smash the stick forward, hit it.
Yeah.
I always have played with trying to go for perfect with pretty much with definitely with irons and usually with 3-wood as well. So that part hasn't changed at all. But well, no, I shouldn't say it hasn't changed at all. It's changed in that the misses are worse now than what they used to be. But I'm enjoying it myself. I play on the Elite Tour, so the second level. I'm finding that I'm probably where I should be.
Hmm.
I'm making cuts, but I'm not threatening winning anything. I think this past week was my best one since I came back to Elite, which was like 18th. Beat Foxen, which was the most important part.
Most important.
But then the other thing to remember too is I'm playing on PC now, whereas when it was Red Fast meta, the vast majority of that was on PS4.
Hmm.
So if I was playing PS4 this way, I don't maybe I'd be a little bit better. I'm not sure. But no, I'm enjoying it. I my controller's kind of messed up, so that's screwing up my putting. But there's something about when you get into a good tempo and you start hitting those perfects, especially with a driver. There's a real satisfaction I'm getting from that
Oh yeah.
that I never got from the game before. I understand that's not true for everybody. I understand a lot of people are struggling, and we're going to talk about that, I imagine. But that's for me, that's where I am. What about you?
Yeah. When I first started playing the TGC tours, going up from beer league and then getting my qual card and everything, the red fast was still prominent, and I hadn't really, I didn't really know or hadn't figured out that if you hit it red fast, it doesn't punish your distance. It makes you go left, but you actually get a bit more distance. And when I saw people talking about it and how a lot of people were complaining at the time that it was broken, right, and that
Yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't playing as it should. But kind of when you start seeing that, you can really get through a lot of the game with some pretty sloppy gameplay, on your own end. You still have to putt, which for me at that time was the biggest challenge going from pro to master. I think putting is the biggest change
yeah.
with just the sensitivity of it all. But you can put yourself in a lot of good positions if you just figure out, you can just hit it red fast, and you really get sloppy on your swing, and you really don't develop the muscle memory to hit perfect shots.
Hmm.
And so going from that to when the red fast changed, it was a big challenge, because you really start looking for excuses. You want to blame the game, you want to blame your controller. You're googling everything from like, are there settings I can change on my computer? Is there something I can do that'll help this out? And while there were a couple of things, I mean, there's something to do with VSync and turning it on and off, but honestly, nothing. Changing the settings on my computer really had nothing to do with it. It was really just putting the time in and getting enough rounds in to be able to get that muscle memory. And I'd say I hit a perfect drive. Let's not even say perfect. I hit a drive that doesn't punish me. A gray fast to a
Hmm.
gray slow drive. Maybe 40% of the time now, 50%. I'd say I'd say about 50% of the time. And so what it's done for me is it's really made me, when I'm trying to pick out a spot I want to land on my drives, I have to pick the spot that's going to be the best for me if I hit the perfect, but I always have to take into account, like, where am I going to miss if I screw this up and get a red fast, or so like you were talking about, if there's a, whether it's a short par four, or there's a your approach shot into a par five, my hybrids and my 3-woods, even though from the developers of the game, every stick has the same tempo. Okay, you should be able to use the same swing with every stick. But because the animations are a bit different, it can kind of throw off your timing a bit.
Yeah.
And so my 3-woods and my hybrids, I do have a tendency to spray those a little bit more often. And so especially if you're trying to shoot into your second shot into a par 5 green that's maybe surrounded by water on the left, I may just bail out and just I'm kind of aiming far right. And if I hit it red slow, or if I hit it red fast, and I end up going shorter distance and to the left, I'll be okay. I'm not going in the water. And
Yep.
if I hit it perfect, maybe I'm in the rough by the green instead of on the green. But I'm willing to take that chance because I'm much better shot to at least get a birdie from hitting from the rough
Mhm.
by the green than I would be if I went in. So, but before you never really took that into consideration. You'd spray it all over because you didn't care,
Yeah.
and you weren't you weren't really worried about going into the rough, or especially not the sand. It was just very easy to play out of those positions. And
Yeah.
but it's made me become a better player, and which is what I wanted to do in the first instance. So it's kind of odd, like, I do see the people complaining about the game, and from my side, it's like, man, the changes have forced me to become a better player. It's forced me to become a better putter because I'm not getting into as good positions as I was. And it's forced me to take a more strategic look at how I'm playing the game and playing the course. And
So
I really get that.
so yeah, people complaining. That's a good thing we should talk about.
Hmm.
I get it. I completely get why people are complaining. What they did in essence was they said, okay, the titanium drivers you guys are using now, you can't use them anymore. You have to use a persimmon driver now.
Hmm.
It's basically what they did.
Yeah,
And if that
or
happened,
or outlawing long handled putters, or
but
anchoring
I think it was
putters,
big.
stuff like that.
I think it's bigger than that because
Yeah, true.
you're taking away the forgiveness of the 460cc head. And I mean, I'm looking at one right now. The driver's like that. My persimmon driver's like this,
I
right?
remember.
And it's literally like that's an analogy that I'm using is that's the change they've basically made is at the master swing level at least.
Hmm.
You've gone from you find the club face anywhere, which basically is you pull the stick down and push it up. You find it anywhere. The ball's gonna go a good distance. You might spray it, but it's gonna go somewhere. Now they've got it where if you don't hit it on the screws, and there are screws in that driver, by the way.
Yeah.
That's where the term comes from. Um, but if you don't, it's not going anywhere. And so if we were to imagine in real life, if golf outlawed titanium drivers and made us all go back to persimmon, there'd be outrage. There'd be
Hmm.
absolute outrage because there'd be people younger than myself who've never used a persimmon driver before, who've grown up playing with titanium drivers and have developed a golf swing with titanium drivers in mind, meaning they're focusing on speed and hitting it as hard as they can because they have that forgiveness, right?
Right.
And so I can completely understand somebody who's been playing TGC Tours, for example, playing on Master, playing with the red fast meta, and all of a sudden the rug's been pulled out from under them, and they're going, "Hang on, so now I have to completely relearn how to play this game.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
can't break par anymore.
Yeah.
I can't compete. I'm not gonna spend hours and hours relearning the game. I've already played it. It's nice outside. A lot of COVID restrictions are gone. Screw it, I'm out."
Yeah.
I don't think so in as much as I think that the game needed it in the sense of it making it realism, like more realistic, I think the way it was done was poorly handled. And I think they might have been better off waiting until the next game to do it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I think one thing that people need to remember is that HB Studios and 2K didn't just make this change because they wanted to. They did it as a reaction to community feedback and want. Now,
Which part of the community, though?
and that's what I was just about to say, how much of the community was really saying, hey, this is broken, and we should fix it. That's who knows. Again, it could be the vocal minority, and it probably was. It probably was confined to the competitive game players. I doubt there were a lot of just people that have no have no, they don't play in societies. They just play for fun and play with their friends and stuff. I doubt that
Yeah.
they were really clamoring and tweeting it 2K Sports to get this fixed.
Right.
But there were a lot of people, yourself included, and myself as well, that said, look, yeah, it doesn't really play the way it's intended, or the way I think
Hmm.
that the game is intended. Because, we're of the mind that PGA 2K is trying to be a golf simulator, not a
Yeah.
golf arcade game.
Right.
And in that case, there are going to be realistic aspects of it that don't play like an arcade.
Right.
You're not going to be able to just swing away and go through sloppy gameplay on those higher difficulty settings and think you're going to get away with it. And I think you're right. It was handled a bit, incorrectly. I
I think
think,
it was just extreme. Like it went,
yeah.
it went from like people are losing 50, 60, 70 yards on drives. And I'm looking at the TGC Tours forum right now. Um, there's there's the big one, the big thread that's red fast nerfed or something like that. It's in
Hmm.
another folder. It's 72 pages long. There's one on here called "The game is basically unplayable now." It's got 94 posts. There's another one that says 2K, you just lost most of your customers. It's got 42 posts. Um, I'm gonna bet there weren't that many people clamoring for this to be fixed. Because I think another thing that's happened, which is extremely unfortunate, is people that were playing for perfects already
Hmm.
are really getting punished now when they miss.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I always was playing for perfect. I wasn't using the red fast meta, and now I can barely play the game. This isn't fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's an area too we got to look at is this is a game. Yes, it's a simulator in my opinion. It's more of a sim than arcade,
Hmm.
but it's still a game. And do you want to go and play a game to get your head kicked in over and over and over again?
Nah.
No, I do because I'm kind of I enjoy a challenge, right? Like I'm the guy that saw that there was a trophy for breaking par and legend, and I thought, oh, I'd like to try that, even though it's hard as hell.
Yeah.
But I just think that they could have. I think there's a couple things they could have done. They could have made the penalty a little bit less severe,
Hmm.
still have a penalty there, but maybe not be so severe. Or I think the difference between pro and masters is so large that there's people out there that find pro too easy and master too hard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
I play in a couple of pro level societies, and down there through 2 rounds, I'm shooting anywhere from, minus 16 to minus 24.
yeah,
And then in the, masters societies, the TGC Tours societies that I play in, if I get down to something like a -5 or a -6 in a single round, that's a great round for me. If I put together 2 days and I'm at something like a -10 across 2 days, I am more than satisfied with
hmm
that kind of score.
and I think I mean this. So that's more realistic, I think,
Hmm.
and it's good. But I think the other issue is that you're never going to get realistic golf scores in a video game because you're never going to have putting work the way it does in real life. Because if people are consistently missing foot putts, they're going to throw their controller through a monitor,
Absolutely, yeah,
right? And so 10-foot putts are like 3-foot putts in real life. So you're going to have lower scores. It's just such a fine line. And I know I think what HB and 2K would say is, well, we have different difficulty levels. Play the difficulty level that makes sense for you. And I think at the start of the game, that's fine.
hmm
But 9 months in, that's a bad optic for, and it's something I refuse to tell somebody, well, if you're struggling, just play no tempo or just play on pro or whatever. Because they've been playing TGC Tours, on the tours for the last 9 months. And now all of a sudden they're being told, well, now you can't. Especially if they're playing on Xbox, which we need to talk about as well, right?
yeah.
I
I
mean,
uh,
I think it is broken on Xbox.
I wanted to bring that up because I have some numbers here that kind of
Yeah,
go into that. Not only Xbox, but also kind of the precipitous drop in participation.
big word.
I hope I used it correctly.
I think you
Uh,
did.
the drop in participation week to week in the different TGC Tours society levels. And I think that that is a big indication, not only just of the age of the game, because this
Hmm.
summer we will be up to a full year, but also the changes that have been made. And you can't say that they haven't lost players because of the changes. I mean, it's
Yeah, they
absolutely
have.
true. So,
Yeah.
for example, on the Platinum Tour, across the last 4 weeks, you had an average participation rate per tournament of 140, about 141 players.
Hmm.
Prior to the changes, the week prior to the changes, April 12th to 17th, it was
200.
174.
Okay.
It's an 81%. So now you're at 81% of what you used to have. Um, Over the past 4 weeks, there have been zero Xbox players that have participated or made a cut in the Platinum Tour.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's a problem.
in the Elite Tour, you're down from pre nerf. The week. This is just 1 week. You're down from 1 week pre nerf 138 participants down to 121 on average. At a lowest is 115. That was last week. You have an average of two Xbox players making the cut
Yeah.
week to week, down from six. Kinetic, Kinetic is one that's kind of an outlier, and I think I know why.
Me too.
So prior to the change, the week prior to the change, you had 146 participants. Over the past 4 weeks, you've averaged 147 and a half. And so you're averaging right about the same. And I think that's because when people move up from CCA into Kinetic, they get into their first pro level, or they're moving down from Elite into Kinetic. I think that one, people moving down kind of bolster the participation. But then when people move up, I think they're excited to play in that new level, and so they're playing on the pro level. It's a different. It's not different settings, but you're playing a different course than the CC guys and all the CC guys, and
Right.
you're kind of you've made it to the big time now. So I think that's why that kind of level of participation, and that's kind of the tour where the pro level scores are a bit more competitive week to week. I
Hmm.
think you see a lot more
Hmm.
different names mixing it up. And so maybe they feel like, depending on the course week to week, hey, I got a shot. I got a shot this week.
Yeah.
But you have gone down there from 12 Xbox players making the cut down to an average of 3.5. CCA, top level CC level, you've dropped 58% you've dropped to 58% of your previous participation, from 129 down to 85.
I think it's a CC level where I've seen the biggest drop in participation, which makes sense
Yeah.
because they're the ones that are struggling the most.
CCH, you're at 66,
Yeah.
129 down to 85. Or I'm sorry, CCA was 140 down to 80. CCH is 129 down to 85. True Sim 102 down to 87, and even the beer league, you were at 181, and now you're down to 148, and that's a pro level society.
Yeah.
And
So then that first of all, if we look at platinum, there was a definite um need to trim the number of people in platinum because when I was having my nosebleeds up on that height, um there were events where there were 200 people
mhm.
and top 65 and ties make it. So there's a lot of guys showing up going, I can't make the cut. I'm not going to get demoted. I'm just living in just barely missing the cut purgatory. And so they changed the demotion percentages instead of the bottoms. How did they do it? Normally it's bottom 7.5% get two demo marks, bottom 15% get one. I think they went to 10 and 20 in a
I think you're
definite
right. Yeah.
move to get because those promo bugs earlier in the year just bloated platinum, right?
Yeah.
But the thing that I find interesting out of all of that is at the pro level, we still have a drop in participation. Again, it's nice outside now. So this happened in April, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, May and June have happened since then. Even up here in Canada, I'm looking outside, it's gonna be 75 degrees and sunny today. So you're gonna have a lot of people who would play the game
75
when it's crappy.
Celsius?
75
I'm
Fahrenheit.
just kidding. You normally say Celsius. I was worried that you're going to start getting close
No,
to
when I
boiling
talked
up
to you guys,
there.
when I talked to you guys, I talked Fahrenheit because I know you guys have no clue what Celsius is.
And we're terrible at
Um,
math.
I'm just used to just going back and forth between the two. Anyway, so it's 70. It's gonna be beautiful outside, right?
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a lot of people who are like, "Why am I gonna sit inside and play a video game? I'm gonna go out and play the game, right?"
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a drop off there. You're gonna have a drop off in the fact the game's been out for quite a while. People are gonna take a break here and there, but there definitely has been a drop off because of the change as well. And the thing is how do you quantify how much of that is because of the change?
Mm-hmm.
The beer league one I find interesting because the beer league should have been affected the least by this because the beer league is an easier society to play in,
Or should have even grown a bit.
or maybe should have grown where people dropped from. But I think what we're seeing there is people aren't choosing to go from the tours to beer league. They're just saying I'm out,
Yeah.
which I understand. I get it. But even people playing the beer league are saying, well, and I think part of it's game cycle. I think part of it's weather. I think part of it is everything opening up because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably this past 15 months or so, TGC Tours has probably been bloated by people who can't go outside, particularly because of COVID, right?
Sure.
And so I think you're gonna naturally see less people playing overall because people can go outside again, and well, some places. I think I'm allowed to now, but it's still a lot of stuff's closed, so we're still restricted, right? But
Right.
anyways, but the question I have is with Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
So C-Mount made a good point on Twitter, and he said that his opinion or his thoughts, his thinking is when HB created this game, it was never meant to be cross-platform. TGC Tours made it cross-platform creating their site.
Mm-hmm.
So is HB then going to be worried about making sure the game plays the same on each console when cross-platform play was not their intention? Societies are within your console, within your platform, sorry. So is it really on HB to make it play the same on all three? And it's a good question. And what technical issues are there that would cause issues with that as well?
For me, whether the game is cross-platform or not, your Maddens, your FIFAs, your whatever, sports games, or even your action adventure games, whatever it is, you honestly should be able to pick up that game and play it on your PlayStation, your Xbox, and your computer. There may be some controller differences because there are,
Mm-hmm.
but the game should feel and play the same from console to console.
I'm gonna stop you there though, because the NHL series, anytime I've played it on different platforms, it feels differently.
Okay. I will caveat that by saying that there will be certain changes or certain gameplay changes that you can't help simply because of the platform differences. I mean, each platform is going to have different processing power. It's going to have, there's going to be certain elements like you always see it on games like down for the Switch, right? They're always stripped down. Graphics are stripped down. There's some game modes that you don't have. And there's certain things with latency or frame rate issues from console to console. Now, I do understand that. And if you come to me and you say, hey, the game that HB designed, there's nothing wrong with the design. It's designed to play the same on each, but because of the different hardware differences or issues or whatever, you're not going to get the same results PlayStation, Xbox to PC. Because if you look at the Xbox participation before the changes, you had, and this is still crazy. Before the changes, you only had an average of 9%. 9% of the players that made the cut across the all the tours that I just mentioned, only
Mm-hmm.
9% were Xbox.
Yeah.
And
Oh, and this has been a problem every iteration of the game, I think.
yeah, and afterwards it was 5%. And so whereas the change did, I mean, I'm hearing most of the stuff that I'm hearing, the at least the loudest, are from Xbox players that
Yeah.
just can't. I mean, they put it on Masters difficulty, and they literally can't play the game because it doesn't matter what they do, how many times they calibrate, how if they take their clubs down to the the beginner clubs with the best forgiveness and all that, they cannot hit a perfect shot or get it within the gray zone. And I haven't had to go through that, so I can't empathize, but I can sympathize with what they're going through, and especially when, like you say, even though the game's not designed to be cross-platform, the TGC Tours Society events that a lot of people that we talk about the most and that a lot of people play in and value the most in their gameplay, it's almost like they're kind of barred from participating simply because they're on the wrong platform.
So then a couple things to along with that. Our buddy Lucas just got him. So he's a PS5 player. He just got an Xbox Series, whatever. I don't really understand Xbox that well. Um, and he put a tweet out saying, "Well, I decided I'd play. But I think it was the game was free through whatever pass,
Yeah.
Game Pass or whatever." So he's like, "I just to see what the fuss was about. I thought I'd give it a go on Xbox." And this Lucas is a Platinum Tour player.
Mm-hmm.
He shot 90, 91, 92, something like that on Xbox. So he went, "Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, it's different." But you mentioned things like latency, control differences. To me, it feels like the way this game, when you have tempo, latency is going to be massive for that. Um, it seems to me that this is the most likely type of game that's going to struggle in a cross-platform environment because each platform, I mean, I bet even different PCs probably do it slightly differently depending on how powerful they are and whatnot.
Yeah.
So then, how realistic is it to expect HB to create the game playing the exact same on all three platforms? And I mean, would we be talking about this if it wasn't for Doyley and the boys creating TCC Tour 7 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, if every platform was kind of isolated from each other, um, maybe you wouldn't hear about it. But I still think that the game would be not playing well enough on the Xbox that I think there would still be Xbox players out there going like, what's the deal? I
Yeah.
mean, even before the changes, when you see the 9% of players making the cut are from Xbox before these swing changes, there's something different about the Xbox, whether it has to do with the controller.
Hmm.
I heard, a lot of people were saying, you got to update your controller firmware, and a lot of players out there, console players, they're just playing games. They don't know anything about
Yeah.
controller firmware and all this stuff. And a lot of times you don't have to worry about it because the games that are coming out, they're not, you're not talking about millisecond differences in your stick movement. So if it's whatever, you have a firmware change, what's that? Uh, but there's people out there that are saying you got to do this for Xbox. You got to go to a wired controller, or it only works on TVs with certain frame rate refresh settings, and it's like,
Which is
man,
all stupid
yeah, if I
to
gotta
have to go through that. Yeah.
if I gotta
Forget it.
jump through 12 different hoops to play a golf game, there's so many other things out there that I could do.
Yeah.
So I totally sympathize with the Xbox guys, especially the guys that are, masochistic enough to be banging their heads on the wall because they want to play a golf game. I just want to play a golf game.
Hmm.
And they're struggling out there trying their damnedest to have fun. And it sucks because I wish that, they could make the game better for Xbox. Um, before they start making these radical changes to it that just, really make everything worse for them. The only
Yeah.
the only thing that I wanted to say Well, no, we won't go there yet because what I have found is, for me, I still do my TGC Tour rounds, but like I said, I've kind of been one of the ones that have maybe benefited from these changes and making my game better. But I have found a lot of enjoyment in some different societies, some pro level societies, whether it's Canuck has his own Crazy Canuck has his own society.
Is
But
his on pro now?
what's that?
Is his on pro now?
Uh, I thought his was his. Is it on? No, it can't be on pro, is it?
No, it used to be Masters.
But
Anyways.
but I play in that one because I know a lot of the guys that are on there. I don't know them personally, but I know them more from his channel and stuff. And so you see some familiar names on there, and he has some courses that he plays or that you've seen on streams, and so you get kind of a very wide mix of courses. They're not all just handpicked because they're tough for CC level or
Right.
whatnot. And then I joined a Facebook group that's for or Facebook society that's for TGC designers, and so every course on there is from a designer that's part of the group, and there's a lot of familiar courses on there, and that one's pro level, and then now there's the No Tempo Tuesday Society, the NTT Society, which is on legend settings for everything except there's no tempo. And you still have your green grid. You still have your green
Scout
grid
cam.
and your scout cam and your light grid because
Right.
I mean you take those off and that's a big handicap. But
Yeah.
and then the Dam Society that Victory Lane Sports runs now this season has gone also to no tempo and legendary otherwise, except for as mentioned before to kind of mirror the NTT Society. And a lot of people, myself included, were like, "Man, this is going to be easy. This is going to be easy. It's going to be dumb. People are going to be shooting, ridiculous scores, and it's not going to be fun anymore." But for me, with the no tempo, when you turn off tempo, sure, you don't have to worry about your swing timing, but it makes you really take more things into account than you would your wind, your lie angle, the draw or fade on the ball, the spin you're putting on the ball because you're at legendary settings, and so every little minute twitch in your thumb in your swing is going to affect it, and the wind and lie angle and everything like that affects the ball that much more being on that top difficulty setting.
Yeah.
Putting is almost ridiculous, just this side of ridiculous. I mean, my putting swing plane, looks like a infinity sign sometimes because it's just so
Yeah.
sensitive. But
Try using this broken thing.
that's where the challenge on that level comes from. And so, with a lot of the feedback that they're getting, that Victory's getting, and that the other guys have gotten, is like the same thing that I said. Look, I thought this was going to be, dumb, but it's fun because do you get low scores? Yeah, you can shoot low scores, but the challenge becomes more about putting the ball where you need it and where you want it to get the best chance in. And the fun comes from being able to execute those shots. When you're playing in TGC Tour events and on the master settings, when you execute the shot that you really want, it feels great. But it's so few and far between when you really, really get what you were looking for, that it really doesn't make up that euphoria you get, that little bit there doesn't really make up for the other times where you just missed out or you hit a terrible shot. Whereas in the no tempo leagues, you can have a good shot at putting your ball where you want to if you can deal with things like the wind and the slope angle and your spin on the ball and things like that. It adds a bit more elements because honestly, on TGC Tours, I'm mostly focused on my tempo. Like I'll take the wind into account and the lie angle a little bit, but I'm mostly focused on just getting the ball, trying to keep it perfect, because otherwise, if you don't, lie angle and everything else really doesn't matter. It just exacerbates an already terrible problem that you're going to get by hitting a red fast or red slow. Do you
Yeah,
play in those
I
leagues?
thought. I played Damn Society yesterday.
Hmm.
First time I'd done No Tempo Legend. Um, I did find it easier for sure. It was fun, and it was fun in a different way. Now, how much of that is because the Damn Society is par threes and adventure golf and mini golf?
Yeah,
I don't know, right? The one thing I did find was pitches were I wasn't afraid to hit a pitch now because the tempo you don't have to worry about it.
yeah. Partials
I
are
think I
partials
think
are
I ended up
okay.
something. Yeah, I think I ended up like 16 under or
Hmm.
something. But I actually found the putting easier than I expected, especially with how messed up my controller is. But I think what I find is with my putting, it's either like dead perfect or it's way the hell off.
Yeah,
So it doesn't really matter if we're on Masters or Legend for that. I'm either gonna hit a really good putt or I'm gonna hit an awful putt. I don't really hit kind of putts. I might do the No Tempo Tuesday one as well, just for fun.
yeah.
But to be honest, I would not be wanting to play no tempo all the time.
No.
To me, we're taking a step back to the original TGC and all the Tiger Woods games, and I think the addition of tempo is part of what makes this game really good. Is that you have to think about that as well, and it makes it more realistic. But I understand why the people are creating them, because it's giving them a way to play the game in a way that they enjoy, which I'm all for,
Yeah.
right? If people want to play the game differently so they have fun, go for it. I'm just not about to tell people that they should do that rather than play the way that they want to play, which has now been killed, especially if you're on an Xbox. So it'll be curious, first of all, when the next game comes out, because we still don't know. And when it does, will it be cross-platform? If it is or if it isn't, will there still be this big of a difference between the platforms? Because if they don't go cross-platform, I don't think it's going to change. I don't see why it would. On the end of HB and 2K, they're probably going to go well. It's been fine ever since. If they do go cross-platform, they're going to have to address it. Otherwise, people are going to lose their minds.
Well,
So,
the biggest difference you got to remember is that the next game, more than likely, the next game is being developed with the next generation
yeah.
PS5s and Xbox Series X in mind. And
Hmm.
so it's going to be optimized for those newer consoles. Now, it'll probably still be playable on the Xbox 360 and the PS4, but like most games that are developed for higher end machines and then kind of dumbed down to be able to be played, there are going to be some gameplay differences there because it's just inevitable.
But people are still struggling in this game on the Series X, the next gen
But this
Xbox.
game wasn't developed for to be
True.
optimized with that hardware and that processing power, and so it's if you have a buggy game or a game that's kind of developed for the lowest common denominator, it doesn't matter how good your machine is. It's
Yeah.
still gonna play like crap because the game was just designed kind of that way uh, to meet that, so make it playable on that lower end system. But
I mean, it'll be interesting. It because HB is very clearly listening to the designers in the community because we just had the new Divot Derby multiplayer mode where people that there's a what 6 guys whose courses are being added to that.
yeah, yeah, I forgot to mention that, by
S-
the way. Congratulations, Victory
yeah,
and B101,
Ben,
Canuck, Arctic,
Arctic,
Energizer,
Matt F, and Matt F.
and Matt F. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, congratulations, boys. And to me, that's really positive that it's very clear then that HB is listening to its designers at least.
Hmm.
Um, and so, maybe next game they will. Maybe next game they will try to make it more even. Maybe they'll be able to more easily with the next gen technology. Who knows? I just know that if you've got an Xbox right now, it's such an own goal.
Yeah. It's funny. There are a lot of games out there that are PC only. And
Hmm.
before I had a PC capable of playing those games, I'd kind of feel that a little bit of FOMO, that fear of missing out there, where I wish I could play this game, but I can't, and so I kind of understand. Except it's a little different because I mean, there are Xbox exclusives, there are PlayStation exclusives for
Yeah,
games and
yeah,
stuff like that, but for the most part, most big AAA games are coming out for both consoles, and so there's not a lot of big games out there that you can't play if you don't have one. And so, especially sports games. And so for Xbox guys kind of being not excluded because you're getting the game, but it is, it's like, okay, we got two of the same cars, but, yours comes without a steering wheel, and the gears are always going to grind. And it's like,
Yeah.
man, it's not the same. And I
And
get it.
I wish they tested that a bit more before they went full bore into this because yeah, you've basically destroyed it for Xbox players. And again, but then again, we're talking at it from the point of view of the TGC Tour players, right?
Sure.
I'm curious. I'm curious what your kind of casual player who may not even be playing the game anymore because it's old. Um, but your Barstool Sports Societies of the world, that kind of stuff. I wonder if they're having the same kinds of issues. I don't know.
Well, you know what? I
Um,
will say, sorry, I will say this. Well, I had it in Discord, but so I won't be able to
yeah, because we're kind of in Discord right
bring it
now.
up. But the TGC Designers Facebook Society that I'm in, they have, since their society participation is kind of on the lower end, on each platform, they're able to get the scores and kind of update them together. The top player right now across all platforms is an Xbox player. And but that being said, I think the drop off between like the top five Xbox players and the rest of them
Right.
is very, very large. The gap there is very large, and so I don't know what it is. I know that there's going to be a few guys that at least on the pro level where they have a little bit of leniency on that tempo, they're going to be able to make whatever changes they need to and adapt to shoot some low scores. But it's going to require a lot of either doing or practice or whatever that those other players extra above and beyond than even other players just trying to other platform players just trying to get on a tour have to put in, that the other Xbox players aren't going to do. And so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you get these five Xbox players, one of them's at the very top, the other four kind of sprinkled in throughout maybe the top 25, and then the rest of them are just below the PC players, below the PlayStation players.
Yeah.
And it sucks. And the last thing I want to say about this, a couple of weeks ago, I'm in the TGC Tours Discord, and every day, almost, it feels like every day in there's a new post that's nothing but, well, I'm quitting the game. The game is broken. I'm struggling to, I can't hit a perfect shot anymore. Everything's red fast, red slow. There's no rhyme or reason. I know I'm hitting the right speed over and over, and yet I'm getting different results. And, I used to shoot, minus 30, and now I'm lucky to break par and haven't made a cut in 6 weeks, and I'm done. And this, I normally ignore them, but at that time it had been 6 weeks, man, since the change, and now it's been 2 months. And in the same breath that I'm saying I sympathize with Xbox players because the game seems to be pretty broken from them even before these changes, I have lost sympathy for the players that want to quit. I understand, I get it, but I don't want to hear about it anymore. We've all heard about it. We're all playing with it. We've been playing with it for 2 months now. It's not a surprise to anyone anymore about these changes. And HB doesn't seem to be giving any indication that they're going to take back those changes or, revert them or make them, different or anything like that. And so this is the new normal that we're playing under. And I understand that misery loves company, and everybody loves to complain about things because then it kind of feels like we're all in this together and all that, whether it's this golf game or life in general. Everybody just, poker players are the worst, right? Poker players, everybody has a bad beat story. There I was sitting there with pocket aces, and oh my god, I don't want to hear it. And that's all it is with this, right? It's like, oh, I went out on a practice round and shot minus 14, then I go into the real event and I shoot a +1. And it's like, sorry for you, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that back when we were having red fast and the game was easy, and you could like I said, you could have sloppy play and still shoot low. I'm sorry that you were good then, and now that they've made these changes and you've been forced to adapt or not, that you're not good anymore and you're not scoring as low as you have. I'm sorry for that. But there are other people out there that are adapting, that are either getting better or staying good, or have said, look, maybe the TGC Tour Societies aren't for me, but I still love the game. I'm going to play it, this way. There are those that were dissatisfied with the changes, but have said, I have enough involvement with the community is what keeps me in it. Designing was what keeps me in it. So I'm going to stop complaining about the gameplay, and I'm going to find ways to enjoy the game the way that I can, so I can stay involved with the community. And I think that's really what we got to have. It's like, this is it, guys. This is your game, and if you like it, awesome. If you don't, there have been voiced concerns now for 2 months. HB Studios knows what they've done, and I don't think you could ask anybody there, hey, did you know that people don't like your red fast change? No one would say, no, I hadn't heard that. So they know. Now, whether or not they make the change for this game, who knows if they do or not, but I'm fairly certain you'll be getting something different with the next game. So if you can still play this game and enjoy it while you're waiting on that next one, awesome, man. I want to see you out there. I want to see TGC Tours participation rise. I want to see, or at least stay at the same level. I want to see designers still designing, players still playing because they like the designs, and everybody's happy, right? But I'm just over people wanting to get on there and just complain and complain, not only in the TGC Discord, but on the societies themselves, on the little shout boards that the societies have. It's all you see. And it's so funny because there's a lot of Pro Tour level guys that will go play the CC events just for practice.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's not the same course, but they'll play for practice, get the tempo and stuff. And so
Funsies.
you'll see scores on there that are like -54. And then somebody will come in and be like, oh, I can't believe somebody's shooting -54 on CC. And it's like, no, dude, it's not CC. They're not part of this. You're not going to see their score. They're Pro Tour, but they don't understand that. And so they're confusing things. And everybody's a cheater if you shoot low because they can't do it. So if you can do it, you're a cheater. And it's that online gaming kind of personality that you see sometimes that I can't understand it. Some people would much rather just complain and keep complaining about something rather than either move on to something different or accept it for what it is.
Well,
And
that's not restricted to video game culture though. That's
that's
life,
true. That's true.
right? There's so many people out there that would rather just complain than try to figure out how to make it better or just accept it's not gonna be.
Yeah.
And so they're just gonna keep complaining and complaining and complaining as if their one voice is gonna be the thing that changes it because and then of course not recognizing the fact that yeah, maybe that's their opinion, but 20 other people have a different opinion. And I mean HB's in this position where no matter what they do, somebody's gonna be unhappy, right?
Right.
What I'll say is I agree with you to a point. I mean, I agree that the constant complaining isn't really all that helpful. I get it. Um, I think a lot of people who are making those complaints probably don't have people in their lives that understand the game, that play the game, and so the only place they can vent is online. It can get tiring, I guess. I just kind of look at it and kind of go, okay, well, there's another one, but I don't really think much of it. It doesn't frustrate me because I just like, okay. I guess the other thing I would say is you don't have to read it, right?
Well,
So,
I guess one of the reasons it bothers me is because it's a TGC Tours Discord. It has nothing to do with the game as far as how the game is developed or played. Now, there's a
right.
close relationship there with, it's obviously a symbiotic relationship between the two. And HB Studios has used TGC Tours to kind of, be a testing bed for some things,
Hmm.
but they're not affiliated. So complaining to TGC Tours is going to get nothing. Okay.
Yeah.
Especially not in their Discord. Maybe on the forums where there's like some sections for the gameplay that you can be specific and voice your concerns there. That's what it's for. Then do that, or go to the HB Studios forum page and voice your concerns there. Where at least if you're yelling into the void, you're yelling into the correct void, and maybe at some point it might be heard. But it's like going to a band's fan page and all you want to do is complain about their music. And it's like, dude, like you're on the fan page. Like, why are you here complaining about the music? We're the fandom. Like, if you got like big beef with the band or whatnot, there's not the place to, give it. I guess it'd be
Yeah.
more like your favorite band and someone comes in complaining about the genre of music. Like you're a fan of Metallica and somebody comes into the Metallica Discord talking about, man, rock music's dead. I can't listen to rock music anymore. It sucks. And it's like, why are you here, man? We're here for like because we enjoy Metallica and rock music. I don't know. Maybe it's
Yeah.
just I'm just bitter. I don't
Maybe.
want to
I
read
mean,
it anymore. I don't want
that's
to read
that's
it anymore.
well, then don't. I don't. That's the thing,
I
right? Is
know.
I mean, and I find it interesting at times to have a look at that one thread and kind of see what people are saying. And okay, yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's some people making some good points. I hear what you're saying though. It's the thing is, even with the new game, they're not going to have a red fast meta. There's
Yeah.
no way.
Well, and then
That
whatever they put out's not going to be perfect, right? And there's going to be
no,
a side that
but
doesn't
it's
like
not.
it.
But you're going to be expected to try to hit perfect shots,
Mm-hmm.
like perfect tempo. Sorry, right? They're not going to create it where you can have a, if you want to call it an exploit. They're not. That's not going to be there.
Right.
So, will it be slightly more forgiving? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
We'll see.
But yeah, I mean, I understand the frustration on both ends. For me, I just play, and when people complain, I just kind of all right.
Yeah.
Um,
And I said
but anyways,
I said my piece and I moved on
yeah,
and really haven't said anything else and I probably won't. And that, kind of like you, I may read it, but at this point, complainers want to complain, and that's they're totally within their rights to do that, and I don't have to engage back as you said, and you're definitely right about that.
yeah. So speaking of moving on, we just had our second major on TGC Tours this past week, the American Open, which is meant to be TGC Tours version of the United States Open Golf Championship, which was won by John Rahm, of course.
Go Rom.
Um, awesome finish too. Those two putts he made on 17 and 18. That was
You love to
I haven't
see
seen.
players accelerate through the finish line and
Yeah,
not trip through the finish line.
yeah. I haven't seen putting on multiple closing holes like that since Payne Stewart at Pinehurst in '99.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was wild. The only thing that would have made it at all better would have been if it was in the last group and it was for sure to win. But still, it was pretty
I
awesome.
kind of like that. I mean, he wasn't too far behind. Was he one or two groups behind the final pairing?
No, I think when he finished, Oosthuizen was like on 15.
Okay, so yeah, so he's a couple behind, but
He was quite a ways ahead.
I kind of like that every once in a while because most of the time, it kind of does come down to that final pairing, and it's usually by that point it's usually like one guy in that final pairing that's shooting to win it, and
Yeah.
I'd much rather a guy be in the clubhouse with a score to shoot to win, and that final pairing, that final guy that's got a chance for it, he knows what he has to do, and because then you're going to see the guys that can rise above that pressure or the guys that can succumb to it.
Yeah.
I don't like to see it all the
And
time
it,
because I do like to see a finish go up to that final point. But I think for this particular contest, especially with the way that Rom finished it out and put that
mhm.
pressure on Oosthuizen, and Oosthuizen, he had a shot. I mean, he had a couple of shots there that went wayward, but I wouldn't say that he like totally collapsed.
No, no, no.
Yeah,
I do feel like the climax was Rom finishing, and it's unfortunate the climax happened with the leader on 15.
yeah, yeah.
And the reason I'm saying it's a climax is it kind of fizzled out because Oosthuizen knocked it on the green on 16, almost three putted.
Mm-hmm.
He made a hell of a putt to even make par, and then he gets on to 17 and hits it into the hazard. I mean, sorry, penalty area. And at that point, it's starting to look really unlikely that he's going to be able to tie.
Yeah.
Like he's got to get up and down, and then he's got to make birdie on 18. Doesn't get up and down, and then once he hit his drive in the rough on 18, it's basically over. But it was kind of like a death by a thousand cuts there towards the end, where he just, and that was unfortunate to have it kind of fizzle like that. But overall, that was great. It was a great Sunday. At one point, there was like 10 guys within one or two shots. Our boy Mackenzie Hughes from Canada was in there, and then wasn't. Bryson blew up.
Hate
Anyways,
to see it. Oh,
yeah,
poor
well,
Bry. Poor Bry.
people, he's a polarizing cat, that guy. On the American Open side of things, it was played at Black Salt Valley, which was updated specifically to host the tournament. Black Salt Valley Open, which was created by B101.
It was already a course
And
designed to host a major.
yeah, so it was a course that was created in TGC 2019 in their major contest. So courses that are designed to host majors, which no longer exists, that contest, because they found the only way to make courses that hard was to make them gimmicky and silly. And Ben himself, B101's first name is Ben, he'll tell you that there's no way he ever creates that course if it's not for something like a major contest.
Yeah.
But he and Q, speaking of Q, did some alterations to it. Q played around, did some tee manipulation, made some different tees, with Q scheduling it for the Open. And then I was really looking forward to seeing what was going to happen. I was really looking forward to see what the scores were going to be. I was looking forward to carnage. I was looking forward to people whining and complaining and moaning and the whole bit. And we didn't get it. They played well. The cut was like 5 under. And I played it for funsies. And I
Yeah,
think I was like 1 under and felt like I played pretty well, but I was 4 shots off the cut.
but I think we need to put it in perspective with just the level of play in the Platinum arena. Because
34 under 1
I know,
on a course that's supposed to be damn near impossible.
I know, but also you had 44 out of the 149 participants, so almost 30% of the participants shot even or worse over the first 2 rounds. And so
Yeah.
I don't know what that normal number is like week to week, but I can't imagine.
0.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it's that high. Almost 30% of your, or 33 rather, almost 33% of your pro top tier level players are shooting even or
Yeah.
worse over 2 rounds.
Sorry, the cut was actually -6.
Yeah, and
Because
number one player in the world,
Yeah.
old Sloaner himself, misses the
Missed
cut
by a
at
shot.
-5.
Yeah, he missed by a shot. That was big.
Yeah, I
So then
hadn't seen that.
and I mean, I don't imagine he's ever missed a cut ever in the entire history of his participation in any of the TGC games. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but
Yeah, I'd be anxious
I
to see kind of, his gameplay and where he kind of missed his shots and, was it the putting, was it the approaches, things like that. Because, I mean, the one thing about Black Salt Valley, and I didn't play the course after they made the changes, but prior to the changes, those greens are, I mean, as close to putt level nightmares as you can get, and still have them be playable in a tournament setting. Just this side of playable.
I played the first 2 rounds for fun, and what I can tell you, they didn't tone the greens down.
Didn't know?
No. The course was it was everything you would want. You had 500-yard par 4s into the wind with those greens.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like I was grinding every single shot to try to make par and hope I snuck the odd birdie in there.
Yeah.
But always knowing double was waiting for me.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad they did it. selfishly was hoping that there was going to be like I'm disappointed 34 under won it, but I think that's just a reflection of the players. I don't think you can create a course hard enough to make that not be a winning score.
But
Um,
and then but again, for perspective purposes, the guy that won, he was number three
mhm,
in the world at the time. Chris Rossi, congratulations by the way.
mhm.
Since has since moved into number two. He was 34 under, but he was 7 strokes better than
Yeah,
second place.
that's not that surprising to me on a course like that because the the difference between a great shot and a good like the you can hit a good shot and be 50 feet away and hit a great shot and be 10 feet away on that course.
Hmm.
So if you just happen to catch it on the right week for yourself, I can see where you can really gain some scores or gain some places up the board and open a big lead. It's not unusual for a really crazy and difficult course in real life to have large margins of victory where a guy figures it out, nobody else does.
Yeah, I mean Tiger's done it.
2000 US Open.
Uh,
2000 US Open was probably one of the hardest US Opens, and he won by 15.
yeah,
So,
and I did want to point out Zane Jarrett, currently number 15 in the
yeah,
world right now, tied for second overall, did manage to shoot a 57
yeah,
in round two. Unfortunately, followed that one up with a 70 in round four. So
easy to do.
maybe he would have had a chance. But hey, shooting a 57, I don't care what the course is, but especially a course like this, um, where that
Yeah,
was I
I
think
can't.
2 strokes better than the next lowest. I think the next lowest, man, there may have been a 58, but I know it was
I,
mostly in the 59s was the where the real
yeah,
low scores were getting.
yeah,
That's an accomplishment.
yeah, it's wild. I mean, the guys that were at the top played outstandingly well. I think it's a success overall. I think we probably hyped it up more than what it really was. And I think this goes back again to what Q was telling us with when he talked to us last episode that the top guys in the game want to be challenged.
Yeah.
And they got challenged and they found a way to play it. And so there wasn't that complaining. And I think everybody knew going into it, this is a US Open, quote unquote. It's going to be hard. It's supposed to be. If you had that every week, you'd have some serious complaining. But I think once a year, I think people are okay with it. So I think overall it's a success. Like I said, I just was hoping for carnage because these guys shoot low scores all the time. I guess I'll take solace in Sloan and missing a cut. That's all I got.
Now him and I have something in common.
But yeah, exactly.
We both got a
Um,
demotion mark.
what's that?
I said we both got a demotion mark.
Oh, you got a demotion mark?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's because I was in the bottom bottom percentage of those that made the cut, something like that, last week.
no. If you make, you can't get demotion marks if you make the cut and play all 4 rounds.
No? Well, I don't know why I have a demotion mark then, because I made the cut last week.
Did you play all 4 rounds?
No, that's why I
So you
didn't.
got,
Because
so
this
you got
weekend
two demotion
happened.
marks for withdrawal.
Because this
Yeah.
weekend happened and all that, I didn't get to play my
I almost
fourth
did the
round.
same thing. I had a meeting with my business partner, and I got home and I went, "Oh crap! I've got to play my rounds, otherwise I'm going to get two demo marks for withdrawing."
Yeah.
So I snuck him in under the wire. Beat Foxton, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. He
Only
chirped
once.
he
We'll do it again.
he chirped me on Discord. So
You know what I like? What I like to
um,
do with the just a quick aside here. What I like to do with these guys, and it's mostly the top three pro societies. I like to just add 8 strokes to their rounds. 32 overall. I think it makes it a little more realistic when I look at it. So I'm looking at it, a 34 under for a U.S. Open type. And so if I just add 32 strokes to it, he's at -2 for a
two
U.S.
under.
Open. Okay, I'll take it. We'll go. And then Sloaner missed the cut at +3. Or not, well, if I'm adding 8, he missed the cut at +11. Sorry. Sorry for you. But that makes it a little more easier for me to digest when I'm seeing all these low scores, -54 and all that. Hell, even 32, adding 32 strokes to it.
Did you play golf during the Tiger Woods games?
Oh yeah. No,
Because
yeah. If you were getting, I think 49s were possible in that game, right?
yeah, exactly.
Down in the
So
40s.
I mean, video game golf has had stupidly low scores for the entirety of its
Oh
history,
yeah.
so I just got used to it. So I'm gonna let him keep his 34 under and just give me like good job.
Absolutely. And his two and a quarter million dollar payday I hope he sees that check from TGC Tours.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's not gonna, but anyways, it'd be pretty awesome if you could. But
Well,
anyways,
well, Wayne,
um,
you got a big thing coming up, don't you? You got another you got another design competition that you got to judge.
yeah, I do. Victory. Well, Victory has told me he's too nice. I am too. So
Yeah,
he asked what I like to judge, and I said sure. So yeah, the field's been set. There's a person here who, well, he created a really good course,
I created a course.
and it was in the alternate pile. It was considered for wild card. I don't see it in the main field right now.
Yeah, conspicuously left off the final
Hmm.
list of 32.
Yeah, the J Ray gun has he's been oh, I don't know what's the word I want here.
You know, so everybody that joins one of these competitions, whether it's a Facebook competition between some
This ain't my
friends or
competition,
whatever.
by the way. This is Victory's competition
Right, but whether it's a
and
Facebook
Andres.
competition between friends or on Discord or it's a major design competition for TGC, you put in the work. Um, I would say that 98% of the people that put in that design courses for these competitions put in real work and
Hmm.
a passion and an affection for their course. They're not trying to get into a contest and put out a joke course or something. They're the kind of people that would much rather withdraw if they're not going to meet a deadline or they're not going to
Right.
meet their own standards rather than
Yeah.
put something subpar out there. So
Yeah, and you're similar. I would say like you're in there and you're trying to create the best course you can create.
yeah, and so everybody that didn't make it, and there were a lot because there were only started out with 4 wildcard spots. There was a field of 28 that were
Right.
automatically in, and then the last 4 spots were going to be left up to a wildcard competition because there were so many people that wanted to participate overall. Some of the main field guys were unable to participate.
Hmm.
Three of them had to drop out, and so the final wildcard spots got bumped up to 7. And I can't remember how many total wildcard participants
Oh, I can
there
tell. I'm
were.
looking.
I think in the final it came down to like 20, 25 maybe put out courses.
There's 10 listed here and then 7 that got into the main field, so 17.
But I think those are you're looking at the honorable mentions, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay, but that's not. I don't think that's everybody else.
I thought it was.
No, because if you look at the main graphic that I made,
Uh-huh. Oh,
there's more than
okay.
17 people on that.
I see you.
But well, actually, I mean,
Oh, sorry. Who made this?
J. Ray Gun Media Productions.
Oh. No, you are right because I see one person in particular who, but then
But
some
they
of these
may
guys
not
just
have
didn't.
finished a course. So you may
Yeah,
be
like
looking at yeah,
Clean Box Hero didn't have a course come out.
you may be looking at the entire
The ones
list
that
there
actually got
of
finished.
everybody that did put out a course. So regardless, it's kind of a competition before a competition,
Yeah.
and I did not make it. I was on the outside looking in, and it's easy to kind of search out for reasons beyond yourself and those kind of things because you put in the work, you put in the effort and all this, and so the easy thing to do is to go, oh, the judge was biased, or they put in their friends, or Chile was a terrible country to have to make a course for. I got gypped on the court on the country. Those are easy excuses to make. And I try to avoid those because it's not going to
Hmm.
help you the next time you go out and make a course. And my course was I'm also a scheduler for Crazy Canucks Society now, and
Hmm.
there's 3 of us that run the 3 different platforms of his society, and so we decide on what courses we're going to put out there. And so right now we're going through the list of these honorable mention courses that didn't make it to the final competition, and we're going to play those courses.
Yep.
And I've played a few of the National Treasure courses. Haven't played a lot of them. I certainly haven't played all of them like you have. But I've played a few of them, and then I just recently played mine again in Andre's society. And you can see a difference. Um, and maybe the difference isn't so much visually in terms of environment. I think I created a nice environment,
I'd agree.
but the golf, and that's the most disappointing part for me, is the golf doesn't play one as fun and as exciting as I intended it to be. Because for those that don't know, I drew out all 18 holes beforehand, in excruciating detail for the most part, for at least the first 13 of them. And that's what took up the first 4 weeks of this 10-week competition for me, was putting stuff
Right.
on paper. And I really thought long and hard about the design aspects of it and the strategy that I wanted to invoke and everything. And but that was the big thing that I found hard to translate into the designer, because there's a lot of things that you can't see in 2D, like elevation changes, and green slopes and undulations. You try to draw them in there. I had some elevation markings and stuff, but you mark something down on paper plus 5 feet, and then you get in the designer, and plus 5 feet looks like nothing, right? It looks like
Right.
a little bump in the ground. And you realize that sometimes you do need to exaggerate some things to make it more exciting or to make it more visually compelling. And I tried to stick pretty close to what I had drawn out, because that was going to be the challenge to me, was to take this that I have in paper and put it in the designer. But I think when it came out, I think it was a realistic looking course. Like, it was a course that maybe you could build in real life. But for the gameplay and for a competition, and for this competition especially, where it's like it's national treasure, and as Victory put it, it's like you want your course to be like the premier golfing destination in your particular country.
Right.
And in that respect, I see where I didn't meet the mark, and so I'm disappointed. But we got the CC competition coming up, and I'm putting out a course for that, and it doesn't have quite the same environmental restrictions on it, and so I'm kind
Right.
of, I have a good idea about what I want to do, and it's something that I don't see too much in the game so far, as the theme and the environment that I'm going for. So we'll see how it translates, and I'll try to learn from what I found out, putting this course out there and the feedback that I got, and we'll go forward there. But the congratulations to the 7 guys that made it out of the wild card. They're one step closer, and
Yeah.
you got guys like B101 that are trying to go back to back in major design competitions.
Yeah, and the thing that's been so I played every course on stream. I just finished yesterday. I think I've played them all now. But I think sometime last week I'd finished all the main entry courses. The thing that I found that I didn't really understand about National Treasure was how much of it is about capturing the environment of the country that you've chosen, or been given, not chosen. And so the Vietnam course, for example, if you watch my playthrough of that, which you can find on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/what about Amiobi,
Visit.
you'll notice that at the beginning, I'm pretty negative about it. I'm critical almost. Well, probably not almost. I am. But as I went through it, I kind of started to clue into the idea that he created an environment of rice, like a rice paddy field, basically,
Mm-hmm.
put a golf course in there. And I was just able to appreciate it more as I went along. Um, to a point now where I'm like, okay, this is what Natural Treasure is meant to be. I get it. What's going to be difficult judging it is comparing that to like Wazazat B101's course, or JW Texan's course. Shoot, the name escapes me. His Maldives course, Bungalow. Is his Bungalow? Yeah, Bungalow Beach.
You're gonna
Um,
know more than I do.
it's just how we're gonna combine, like how we're gonna compare those is gonna be difficult. But that's true of every contest. Um, I will say I can't give away much. I've done a few of my judging playthroughs. I haven't done them all. I think I have
Mm-hmm.
about 16 of them to do. But and I don't know if I have Wes's course on my list. I'm not sure. I will say this. I think Wes's 16th hole is one of the best drivable par fours I've ever played. Period, in real life or in the game.
Wow, high
And I thought he
praise.
did. It's wild. It's so good. And his second hole, I think it is his other drivable four. It's no slouch either. I thought that was really neat. I thought it was just neat to see how people, I mean, Russia, the
I,
country is gigantic. So
mhm.
which part of Russia are you choosing? And then how are you going about creating it? And then you go from that to Andorra, which is about the size of the city I live in. And then how do you deal with that? And so it was really cool to see the best designers in the game working within these constraints and trying to figure out how to create a golf course that best represented the environment that they had. And some people had huge amounts of choice, and some people had really no choice at all.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the fun things about it was, because we had some wild card guys. They only had I believe just 28 countries in
Yeah.
total, and so they cycled back through a few. So there were some repeats. So like
Hmm.
I had Chile, and Baby Bull also had Chile, and
Hmm.
then I believe it was Heisenberg that had Argentina. Um,
I can tell you. Mm, where are you, Heisenberg? I could tell you if my, oh, there you, yeah, he had Argentina. Yep.
yeah, which is very near to Chile. It's on the other side of the Andes, but very near. And you had the potential there for three very different looking courses, even though they're two countries that are side by side. Chile has
Hmm.
like a 3,300 whatever mile long coast, and you have a desert in the north. You have deciduous forests down. You have a wine country in the hills, and then you get down and you have ice covered volcanoes and glaciers and everything down south. You have every environment you could have wanted to choose from in there. And I think when you look at those those three courses, you look at, especially when you compare my Chile, which is down in the kind of the south central part, to Baby Bulls, which is more in the northern desertous part. It's the same country, but you get entirely different looks. And I think that was what the cool thing about this is, these designers got to look at a country like Russia and really hone in on an area. And I think it's going to
Hmm.
surprise some people when they see a country, because they're going to have kind of a preconceived notion about what that country looks like. And I think some of these designers are going to say, check this out, because this is, there's actually some mountains in, Saudi Arabia. There's,
Yeah. The best
things like
example of
that.
that, the best example of that was A. Granger's course for Germany, GC Muller-Vig.
Hmm.
Um, in his post, it says, I wanted to create a course where people said, wow, I didn't realize that was in Germany.
Right.
And when I started playing it, I was like, this is Germany? This doesn't look anything like Germany. But then you look at the post and it's Germany, all right.
Yeah.
It's not Bavarian Forest or Black Forest or whatever Germany. It's a different part of Germany you didn't realize. And I thought that was really, really cool just to learn that there was a course like that that you could create in Germany.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that the judges will be able to do is, I don't think there's a judge out there that's going to ignore what the designer was going for. The designers will, more often than not, every one of them is going to have uh, pictures that they've referenced
Yep.
of the area that they're going for. And so you can't just dismiss something and say, well, this doesn't look anything like Germany, because you're right. It probably doesn't look like what you remember Germany or what you see Germany in your head, because you know the most famous bits or whatever. But it
Right.
doesn't mean that there's not an area that looks like that. And so uh, I think that's a unique thing. Like my Chile course, they have these trees. I can't remember what the trees are called, but they literally look like just little bushes on a big bare tree stalk. And it's weird because I built them with a dead tree and a bush on top. But if you look at it and you go, man, that's really weird. But then you see a picture of what I was going for in the reference, you might say, oh, okay, I get it now. I understand what they were going for. Now, whether they executed it, well enough is for you to decide.
Hmm.
But I think it's also one of the benefits of these type of competitions, where unlike the World Cup, where it was a head to head competition, this one is not It's not head to head. You're not whittling
No.
down through rounds to get down to the best. And so,
Um, I
right,
think we're just giving scores,
right,
and I think what we're doing. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this. I don't know, but I think the plan is because there's 32 courses, right?
hmm,
I don't think they want to just have one show and then just be like, here's your winner.
right,
I think they're gonna go. So it's not like these guys played against each other. I think they're gonna go something to the order of, I don't know. They're gonna say, okay, here's the top 16, and then a little while later they're gonna go, I don't know, maybe here's a top 10,
hmm,
and then at some point they'll have a winner. Just because it would be a very cluttered and just kind of a quick wham bam kind of show to have it just announced in one.
right.
I think they do want to create a little bit of intrigue into like, oh, okay, well these are the courses that are left. So kind of like World Cup, but not where they're actually like you're not judging one against the other.
Yeah, and
You're
even
just judging the course in and of itself.
World Cup. Well, no, I was going to say that World Cup only came down to scores if there was a tiebreaker between the judges. And so yeah,
Yeah.
they were literally two courses put side by side, and the judges said, "I want this course over
Right.
that course,"
Which we're
and
not doing in this.
which is a tough thing to do, but especially now, where just like you mentioned, you're trying to judge how well somebody captured Chile versus how well somebody captured a very niche and unique part of Germany,
Yeah.
and not only captured the look of it, but then also gave you a good golf course. Uh, and so I like
Yeah.
that. I like that they're being judged kind of in a vacuum, each on
Hmm.
their own and each on their own merit, and they're given a score. And I think that at the end, it's going to create some surprises because even for the judges, I think they're going to go through and think that they maybe know which one's going to come out on top or one that's
Oh yeah.
maybe going to
Mhm.
be down low, and then they're going to get to the end of their list and they're going to have their 32 scores and they're going to rack them, and they may
Hmm.
go, well, hold on, I gave that course that score over this one.
I'm definitely
And
going to be doing that.
yeah, and it's
Like,
one
and
where sometimes you got to go back and kind of look at it again and say, is that right? Am I right in your first round, in your first go through? But you want to be careful about that because you also don't want to have that own, confirmation bias where
right.
now you're making the course that you think is going to be the best only because you think it should, instead of
Yeah,
going with your gut.
and the other thing is it's going to be difficult is we're not doing it all in one sitting, right? So
Right.
after on different days you're in different attitudes, you've got different ideas, whatever. For me, so one I can't give you favorites. Obviously, I haven't judged them yet, but I even if I still can't.
Sure.
I will say this: I think the coolest idea was Tan Man's Norway course, Viking Klubens. We'll get Fox on here to tell us how to pronounce it, but Viking Kluben Grota or something like that. The one where it's the farthest north course, I think it was, and there in the summer you can literally play it all day.
Yeah.
It had a really cool video from the No Laying Up guys that really showed what Tan Man was going for. And so I just thought that was neat as hell. And I think with his lighting, it looks like you're playing it at 3 a.m,
Yeah.
kind of in the, not quite in the solstice, but close to it. But I thought that was cool. The other thing I'll say is this will shock nobody. The most polarizing course, well, actually, two options for most polarizing course. One will be the Vietnam course I talked about in the rice paddies. I think some people are going to really get it, and some people are going to be like, "What the hell?" But Petty's course. Now I know it's unusual for Petty to create a controversial course. I know he's known for his very, traditional tournament style golf courses that just happen to be set in ancient Babylon or whatever else he's come up with.
Right.
But his course for India is going to be another one that people are either gonna it's got a bit of the Dream Team one, the Bunkerless Dream Team one, Aldwin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a bit of that to it. It's bunkerless. It's dark. I hit it into the bush on 17 and wanted my mommy because I literally couldn't see in there. Like I was afraid the gremlins were gonna come and get me. And if you watch my playthrough, I literally say I want my mommy. So I was just in the depths of hell. I think that's going to probably, those two will be the polarizing ones where I think you're going to get people have strong opinions one way or the other.
Hmm.
I think the rest of them are just, I mean, they're good quality golf courses by awesome designers that it's going to be splitting hairs here and there as to which one wins. And it's part of it's going to be a bit of luck of the draw on the environment you got to have
Hmm.
because that will play an effect, right? If you got a country that allows you to create an amazing environment that maybe another country couldn't, as much as we're sitting there going, okay, well, how well did you capture that country? You're still going to get wowed by that amazing view,
Yeah, and
right?
that's going to be a hard thing to judge because
Yeah.
like Germany for instance, if someone were to create a course set in the the Alps and very
Hmm.
mountainous and stuff like Germany does have, um, it's kind of like even though you got to give credit to the designer because they obviously have to create that environment, it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of a given. It's Germany's got a nice environment, but then you go to a place like Bahrain or a place
Right.
like Saudi Arabia, where Saudi Arabia is 99% desert, Bahrain is like 100% desert. Um, if that designer takes that and then creates an interesting um, immersive environment around that, do you give a little more credence to them because they were given so little
Yeah.
in terms of that environment? That's up to you guys. I know you can't. That's a hypothetical question or rhetorical question right now
And
for
we
you.
we haven't been given judgment about that. We're just supposed to judge the course
Hmm.
and keep in mind, is it a national treasure, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, again, I mean, we have biases. I mean, there will be some people who probably will give credit to the harder environment that was well done, like the harder to create
Right.
one. Others will just look at the course. I don't know. It'll be like any contest where there will be a winner
Hmm.
and there will be controversy and there will be results people don't agree with. There already have been, frankly.
Sure.
There are people that thought your course should have been in the main draw.
Well, I feel like I probably should have gotten at least 5 buys and just been automatically sent to the championship. Just that's just my own
But
personal feelings.
the one thing I can tell you is that the stream that I did after everything was announced, it was pretty unanimous in my chat at least that you should have been in it.
Eh, I appreciate
Um,
that, and I hope that they mean that. I hope it's not just because I have a presence in your chat from time to time, but I hope that
no,
I take that and then I with the CC course coming up, I hope that it's
yeah,
a follow on to that and one where you build up from not doing competitions to
right.
putting your name out there and not making it to then building and submitting one and now
Yeah.
maybe you make it a little deeper in there. So
No, but people genuinely enjoyed your course.
I
So,
appreciate that.
whether it got in the main draw or not, I think is secondary to the fact that people enjoyed playing your course. And really and I mean, at the end of the day, the important thing is did you enjoy your course? And
Yeah,
you've mentioned there's some things that you would like to have done differently.
yeah,
So, okay, do that next time, right?
exactly. Yeah, I mean I'm proud of it, but
Good.
like with most projects, you can nitpick and find some things that you want to change or that you would have changed, and so that's what you
And I
take
guess
moving forward.
and I guess that's easier to do too when it doesn't get the result you're looking for, right? Because
Right,
then you're going to start looking to try to figure out, okay, well, why didn't it get that result?
right.
Yeah, I get it. It's no different than missing the cut in a tournament and trying to figure out, okay, well, where did I screw up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward. I'm
Um,
looking forward to it. It'll be
yeah, me
fun. It'll be
too.
fun
I'm
to see.
looking forward to
I
seeing the
always like
courses
these
that come out.
results.
Cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this all shakes out with National Treasure. Looking forward to seeing what the results end up being. The results will be broadcast on Crazy Canucks channel, Crazy Canuck 1985, his Twitch channel. It'll be he and Victory Sports. That will be Victory Lane Sports, sorry. That'll be announcing it. Times to be determined, but make sure you guys are following those guys. They both put out really awesome content, and for sure, make sure you're tuning in when the results are put out there.
Absolutely. All
All
right,
right.
Wayne.
Well, I think we maybe have talked enough here, right?
Yeah,
So
we're now at 2 hours, so I know some of it will be edited down, but I think that might
oh,
be enough.
the people missed us though. They want to hear our
Yeah,
voices.
we made up for the 2 week layoff, I'm sure.
There you go. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Um, we've had 110 podcast downloads and probably 400 YouTube views by the time this goes out, which frankly is more than I was expecting.
Hmm.
I'm humbled by it. I've can't tell you how much I love it when people come into my chat and say, when's your next podcast going to be? Or, geez, I didn't know you guys had a podcast. Where is it? Or I listened to your podcast for the first time. It was great. Keep doing it. It's always fun to have people say those things. I haven't had anybody tell me it sucked yet. So that's positive.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody will though, because people are nice.
You keep those comments to yourself.
But yeah.
I said you keep those comments to yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, I don't want to hear it.
Just don't watch. But no, honestly, thank you. Please continue to give us feedback, positive and negative. Please let us know what we can do better. But thank you for the support so far, and rest assured, this is something we are going to continue.
Absolutely.
We are going to try to stick to an every Monday schedule, but we both have lives, and sometimes lives get in the way of podcasts. So, and if you have anything you want us to talk about, let us know. Make sure you're checking out our past episodes, especially if you're new, especially if this is your first episode. We've got a bit of a back catalog now of episodes that you can check out. And I think most of them are going to be fairly topical still. They're not specific to that time. I think they would still make sense to listen to now.
Yeah.
You like and subscribe on YouTube. It helps the algorithm push our videos out to more people. Please do that on my channel too, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned it. I might get J-Ray to put it below me.
Absolutely.
youtube.com/c/whataboutAMEOB. The algorithm, when people are liking, when they're subscribing, when they're commenting, YouTube sees that interaction and says, oh, people like this, let's get it in front of more people. So it just helps it grow.
Yeah,
please,
for a niche, a niche community like ours, we need all the growth we can.
Absolutely. Please consider doing that if you like it, supporting us in that way. We're not asking for any money or anything, so this is the easiest way to do that. Also remember that we can be found on Spotify, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts. Review us, rate us. Again, good or bad, we want to hear all of it. But again, it helps them push the podcasts out there as well. So we appreciate all that you've done there. Just a reminder, I stream Monday to Friday, 1 to 4. Right now, by the time this goes out, I'll have done the Design League season 2 contest 3 playthroughs, because I'm doing them tomorrow as we record. So it will have been this previous Thursday. But I'm getting back now into now that I've gone through all the National Treasure stuff, all the National Treasure courses, sorry. I'm going back to courses of newer designers. If a prominent designer happens to put one out, playing that. But I'm not going to be focused on contest courses for a while. So if you have courses that you want me to play, my Twitter, my Discord, the TGC Tour forums, those are the best places to get a hold of me to ask, and I will. But continued thanks for the support there. And then any ideas, any comments, criticisms, anything you want to tell us, we've got 3 different Twitter platforms you can get a hold of us at. There's at @sounded_good. There's at whataboutAMEOB. And there's at jraygun_TAG. So
hear from
feel free. Yeah, absolutely. Let us know what we're doing well. Let us know what we can be doing better. And again, just continued thank you to you guys for all the support and all the positive comments you've given us thus far. It's making us continue to want to keep doing this.
Absolutely, yeah. We wouldn't do it if no one wanted to hear it. So thank you guys for the support. And we will be back with episode 6. Don't know quite yet what that's going to entail, but we'll come up with something and make sure you guys enjoy it. So thanks everybody for listening. Bye, guys.